Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. We're back talking about the LCS offseason once again, the latest and greatest rumor, speculation, news, all that good stuff going on in the professional League of Legends scene. My microphone cord was a little bit stuck right there. I had to fix that, my bad. But here we go. Today, we're talking about the LCS. We're talking about North American League of Legends, and more specifically, we're talking about the TSM situation because in the last couple months and years, it seems like TSM's always in the middle of some kind of crazy drama or slip-ups or mistakes or whatever, and this is just another one of those. So Jacob Wolf tweeted out just about an hour ago two separate deals between TSM and Evil Geniuses. One that would send Lost to Evil Geniuses, which we talked about before, and another which would send Huni to TSM, which we've also talked about before, have both been agreed to verbally Monday night. That was a couple days ago. Today's Wednesday night. Obviously, free agency started Monday. We kind of heard that Lost and Huni would potentially be just traded for each other pretty much, maybe with some money headed one way or the other, who really knows, but those two deals both might be in jeopardy as TSM roster is uncertain, particularly around Doublelift's future. This is so spicy. This is so interesting. Where is this coming from? This is not something we'd heard about. Obviously, originally, people were kind of speculating that Doublelift might retire, but then he was saying it on his stream that he's coming back. He's not retiring. And now we're hearing he might be retiring again. Like, oh, dude, the drama and stupidity just never ends with TSM. It's so difficult to be a TSM fan. So the flux comes as TSM are struggling to nail down former Suning support Swordart. They were close to a deal with, but it might fall apart due to immigration and payment issues. As you guys know, there's a ton of issues because Swordart comes from Taiwan. There's all these Chinese and Taiwanese and United States, just the international relations between all of them. It affects immigration, it affects payments, it affects just so many different things. It can be really, really tough. And then obviously in the COVID era, it makes things like that even harder. So Swordart may potentially not be able to come to NA. He may potentially not be able to play for TSM at all, even if they're able to, come to an agreement with the two teams and the two parties. And then there's also another scenario where maybe Swordart would have to sit out the first couple of weeks, kind of like a Broxa type issue. I've heard that as a possibility. And then there's also a possibility that hopefully it just goes through all together and he's just completely fine and can play from week one. But it's seeming more and more likely that a deal is not going to be able to get done, which just throws TSM's whole offseason into a giant curveball because obviously they were trying to save money in top lane by getting Huni to throw a ton of money at Swordart. The rumor for Swordart that I've heard is him getting about $1.5 million per year from TSM, which would make him the second highest paid player in the LCS, even ahead of Jensen, which would be pretty crazy. But obviously if they're looking to make a splash in the offseason, they got to throw around some money. But if they saved up all this money by getting a Huni in the top lane, but obviously then the Huni deal would fall through because if Swordart leaves, if they don't get Swordart and then Doublelift doesn't play and they don't get Huni, then Lost is going to be AD carry. There's so many moving parts here. It's going to be so insane. It's kind of hard to even follow. Doublelift is saying that he wants to play with the top 4 in support and otherwise he might not play. I think that's a really, really weird quote. I think that's really weird from him because, again, I know I saw the comment. Someone's like, how is Doublelift in a position to be making demands right now? He's coming off one of his worst splits in years ever. Obviously, he got a little bit better in the summer split, but spring split, probably his worst split ever, especially with just how hyped up Team Liquid is going to be and everything. Then he did a little bit better with TSM, and then they go 0-6 at Worlds. Like, who is he to be saying, give me a better supporter? I'm going to retire. Like, most people would say, good, retire, and then they have Lost ready to be AD carry, but then they'd be looking for a top laner, then they'd really be in jeopardy because Broken Blade's at Schalke. It looks like Impact has a deal with Evil Geniuses, but if Huni doesn't come to TSM, then Evil Geniuses ends up with 2 top laners. And then the other crazy part, there's so much going on and so much to talk about. The crazy part is, if this deal doesn't get done and Lost stays at TSM, Impact could play top lane for EG, and Huni could roll swap to AD carry because then they wouldn't have Lost. They'd have their AD carry position open. There's so much going on here. I know I just said so many things, but there's really so much to talk about. So again, this leaves both teams in an awkward spot. Evil Geniuses still have Huni, plus a verbal agreement with Impact, but no AD carry. So again, Impact top lane, Huni could roll swap to AD. And there's limited North American and Oceanic options left. Meanwhile, TSM may not have a top laner and no support, and they might have to use Lost as their AD carry. Again, then I don't know where they would even go with top and support. There's other big name support options still available that they could go with, but top, especially for resident top laners, is looking pretty weak. If you don't have Licorice, Impact, or Huni, who are you going with after that? Maybe Haunter, but it seems like there's some burned bridges between TSM and Haunter, so it's going to be a really, really weird spot. It seems like a lot of this is out of TSM's control. A lot of it is on just foreign relations and governments and how immigration works and payment issues and stuff if they can get Swordart. But it sounds like if they can't get Swordart, Doublelift's going to retire, and TSM's going to be in a really, really scary and weird position where we're a couple days into the offseason where a lot of players have already signed, and TSM might not have any. Like, people are complaining about Huni being on TSM right now. Things might get a lot worse. They might end up with a lot worse roster than a Huni Swordart roster. They might have an even worse top laner and even worse support. It's a scary time to be a TSM fan. They thought they had this master plan all under control. They thought their roster was starting to come together. They were looking pretty solid and had this big, exciting signing. But all of a sudden, things are thrown in a loop. Doublelift might be retiring. Swordart might be staying in Taiwan. I don't know what's going to happen. It's absolutely crazy. Not even Taiwan. Swordart might be staying in China, obviously, with Suning. Who knows where he's going to end up. But yeah, absolutely insane. We're going to be staying right on top of this story. Like Jacob Wolf said, there is a chance that both deals go ahead as originally agreed to, but that's really unclear right now. And there's multiple pieces up in the air, so many moving parts, and they all need to fire on the correct cylinder. Otherwise, this whole deal is just absolutely going to fall apart, and that's going to be insane. But yeah, Doublelift might be retiring still. We still don't know if he's even going to play for TSM in 2021. And there's so many teams, players, careers, rosters, everything riding on what happens to Swordart, what happens to Doublelift, and everyone involved in this deal. This is an absolute crazy story that I saw on Twitter. I had to get this video out to you guys. Pretty much it for this one, guys. Drop a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about this situation? This is just typical TSM, right? Do you think this is TSM's fault? Is it somebody else's? Is it just unlucky by them? What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to Save Down Blades content. Check me out over at Twitch, twitch.tv/I_am_germ. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.